Now here we go with two new Star versus the Forces of Evil episode reviews. Today we're looking at Mewnipendance Day and Banagic. Let's start with the one that is basically a typical filler episode, which is Banagic. Banagic is about Star seeing a commercial for a quote-unquote magic wand, which is nothing more than a overhyped junk food dispenser. Basically some kind of ice cream or pudding or something. It's got like a banana flavor, and it's supposed to be really tasty and cold, and stuff like that. It's a overhyped as seen on TV item, and they use taglines like supplies are limited and order now and go to a better store and stuff like that. Star falls for this, believing that it's a real magic wand capable of real magic, and she goes on a naive adventure through the city for the first time, running through the city on her own because Marco's too busy with his obligations to walk her around and show her how the world works. This leads to a bunch of situations where Star misunderstands different things that are happening and mistakes everyday people for magical and fantasy style characters, such as a werewolf and a group of pirates. When she fights them for real, she gets in trouble and the pirates chase her. She eventually makes friends with the group, and they sit down and have frozen pudding ice cream treat. Marco, on the other hand, masters one of his martial arts lessons and learns how to walk on fire. But by the end of the story, we see that Star has learned a little something about Earth culture and has managed to do her best. The first half of this collection of two episodes was the one that was more interesting, and that was Mewnipendance Day, which is a story of Star wanting to celebrate one of her home planet's special holidays, a holiday built around a victory that happened in a war. The backstory of this war is that the Munians were colonizing Muni and were confronted with a group of monsters. The Queen used the magic wand to enhance the army, and they defeated the monsters and have been celebrating this victory by reenacting the battle. Very much like Earth's Independence Day and our reenacting the Revolutionary War and so on and so forth. Though I've never actually been to a Revolutionary War reenactment, but this is a plot very much like Hey Arnold did one of these Revolutionary War reenactments in his series, and we've seen the war reenactment theme done in a few other sitcoms and cartoons. The twist here is one that I say puts Star Versus on par with Gravity Falls or Adventure Time. We get some sweet continuity in the return of the super handsome monster character who's on the evil side and is very charismatic and intelligent, and also the return of the teacher who got turned into a troll by accident. Apparently she's still a troll. In Star's side of the story, she gets her friends together, explains Mewnipendance Day as briefly as possible, and splits them into teams to battle each other, pitting humans against monsters. A small group of her friends that she's dressed in monster costumes for the sake of the reenactment. As her friends battle each other, the one kid, Ferguson, hides in a bush because he doesn't want any part of the dangerous action. On the monsters side of things, the minions are doing their usual screw-ups, and the one minion who's been the spy for the bad guys finds himself replaced by a piece of fancy technology. With nothing left to do, he decides to go on one of the missions to try and grab the wand. The charismatic, handsome, evil guy gives him a special weapon with which to retrieve the wand with, and when he attempts to use it, it fails. This makes it look like he's the incompetent one, and he gets fired from the monsters. The interesting thing that happens with the monsters, however, is while Star is celebrating her people's independence and their victory over the monsters are looking at this as a great loss. And they don't particularly enjoy the fact that this day gets celebrated, because to them this was a massacre, a major loss for their people, and they don't like being reminded of their failures. We even get some backstory on how the leader of the monsters took them each in and gave them special purpose in their lives. The one monster coincidentally also looks a lot like the costume Ferguson was in, so he's able to successfully sneak into the reenactment and take Ferguson's spot. Since Ferguson's not around, everybody thinks he's Ferguson. When the monster goes after the wand and gets brutally attacked, Star thinks it's Ferguson who's taken the life-threatening damage, and she starts worrying that the reenactment has gone too far. When she realizes it was one of the monsters and not Ferguson, she's still emotionally troubled by what she's been witnessing, and she allows him to get away without attacking him. Later in the episode, Star's guilt gets to her, and she leaves the monster a little dinner to feed him and cheer him up. What we're seeing in this episode, I think, was very interesting, is that Star's rethinking the morality of the war that her people celebrate as a great victory, coming to the realization that her people had a severely unfair advantage, and that this great victory was actually a massacre where the monsters didn't stand a chance of winning. It wasn't a fair fight, and her people have been celebrating this great victory when there's actually another side to the story. And in a way, with a lot of wars, that is the case. The victors celebrate great victories, while the losers have a tragic event in their history to mourn over. Much like American history and the treatment of the Native Americans. It also reminds me of the way the British perceive the Revolutionary War, or the way the Canadians perceive the War of 1812, or the way the South perceives the Civil War, or how the Germans feel about World War I and World War II. In any war, whether it's a justifiable war where you feel really passionate about the victory, or a war where you feel, yes, one side did take things too far and had an unfair advantage and did actually do horrible things to people who didn't deserve it, there's always two sides to the conflict. What the winners see as a victory, the losers see as a tragedy, where one side benefits greatly, another side lives for generations suffering. A very deep and thought-provoking message to put in a cartoon, and this is the kind of content that will elevate Star Versus from a good show to a great one. If we keep getting thought-provoking, deep episodes with messages and morals of this nature, it'll continue to be a great series and not just a silly little enjoyable Escapist series. Anyhow, until we get to the next one, that's all we have to say for now. Sorry it's a bit late, but better to get it out now than never. Thank you for watching, and good night.